So we're going to start today. We'll learn a little bit inside, but biur outside. Parshas Noach, the biur, page 18. Okay, who's with me? Everybody's with me.
Everyone's with you.
Yay. Okay, here. Okay. So, all right, Yashakoyach, everybody. Let's start. Okay. So Rab Aaron, Hershke,
Yes.
Shmuel.
We're ready to go. Ooh.
Reb Shmuel.
When Hashem created the world, there's a discussion that there was like a first version and a second version.
Better.
Right? The Lashon in Chazal is that the Eibishter created the world first, the Midas Adin. And then he saw that Ein Ha'olam Miskayim. So Shit Tefilu Midas Aracham. So Hashem created, and how does this translate to us? How do we talk about it? We say, David, please turn on the light of this chandelier. Thank you. We say that, that there was Toihu, there's Toihu, and then there's Tikkun. In Atzilus is a world of Tikkun. It's a Tikkun world, and the job of Atzilus is to be Mesakin Biyah, to elevate Biyah. Now, sometimes when we learn different Ma'amorim, it's hard to see the thread that connects everything together. We have Ma'amorim that talk about Tzimtzum. We have Ma'amorim that talk about Eiris and Kalim. We have Ma'amorim that talk about the Spheres. Really, all of these things, they're all pieces of one puzzle. And this Mayim really brings together the whole puzzle.
Oh, that's cool.
Right? So what happens? This idea that the Eibishter created the world, v'midas adin, what does it mean? And why did it happen? The Eibishter makes mistakes. Like what's the kavanah? But the idea was, imagine that you take letters and you make a word, Baruch Ato Hashem, and then someone comes and they scramble the letters. So now the letters have no meaning. It's just letters, they're empty. The Eiris, Eilam Atoyu, what is Eilam Atoyu? Eilam Atoyu are very powerful Eiris. Hashem originally created a world where the Eiris were very powerful. And the Kalim, basically because the Eiris and the Kalim, because the Kalim couldn't relate to the Eiris, each one stayed in their lane. The Eiris, they weren't interested in being mashpia to the Kalim. The Kalim, they weren't interested on being idle and on holding on to the Ohr, to elevating themselves. And that's what caused the Shviras HaKalim. To say it from a different angle for a minute.
It's like the computer before Windows.
In order, Kalim and Eiris are opposites. They have different interests. Ohr is there to represent Moir. Kalim is to deliver merchandise, to connect with below. So, in order for Eiris and Kalim to merge, they have to have a grand mission. Right? They have to be a vision that drives them to work as partners. They didn't have a vision, right? What happened in Eilam Atoyu was they didn't have the vision. So the Kalim were exposed to the light, but they weren't interested. They looked the other way, and so the Eiris moved away. The Eiris moved back. When the Eiris moved back,
It wasn't Shviras HaKalim yet. It wasn't to the point.
So that was the Shvira. The Shvira was that you just have Kalim without Ohr.
They didn't just
break.
overwhelm it.
No, in other words, the idea is the Eiris withdrew. When the Eiris withdrew, what are you left with? Shards. It's a Keli that we call it Shvira. What does Shvira mean? It doesn't have to mean that it broke. It's in the mashal. If I have a vessel that holds water, In order for it to stop holding water, it has to break. But if I have, right,
But if
in
you turn it upside
concept,
down, it also stops holding water.
right, in concept,
Or if the flow is too strong, it bounces out.
In
If the keli is too small,
right, but
it handles it.
in Ruchnius, the fact that I have a keli without Ohr, that's Shviras HaKelim. Right? It's like, imagine that we go to somebody outside. Dave, you want to check if there's someone on the porch waiting to come in? Thank you. It's like, imagine that there's a group of people going they're doing a hike, and there's one guy who knows the destination, and that guy, no one realized, everyone's hiking and whatever, and that guy, he wasn't feeling well. So Hatzalah members, they took him away, and everyone's continuing to and then suddenly someone's like,
Wait a second.
where are we going? But right, so the Kalim, that's the idea. That's Olam HaToyu. Now, why Hashem wanted?
That's a good example.
Hashem wanted very much that there should be Olam HaToyu. Why? Because the Kalim, the broken pieces of Kalim that remained, they were exposed to a fantastic light. At a certain point, they were exposed to incredible Ohr. So in other words, they know what it's really like to be a super, to be a superpower. It's like if it ever happened, I mean, not that anyone speeds, but if you drive very quickly, and then you have to slow down.
Yeah.
It feels like
You're not going anywhere.
it's very low.
Right.
Right?
Like, did I just stop?
So the Eiris, the Kalim of Atzilus, of Toihu, were exposed to such a fantastic light that everything, all the other Eiris are like boring.
Yeah.
They're not going fast enough. They're not excited enough. They're not, okay, now.
Doing it.
Now that we have this backdrop, let's think for a minute about the Nefesh Elikis and the Nefesh Abamis. Right? The Nefesh Elikis is from Tikkun. So the Nefesh Elikis is tempered. The Eiris and the Kalim are measured. Both the Eiris and the Kalim are moichel on their agenda in order to bring forth the greater goal. Right? I don't want to bring in politics because it gets very sticky.
Yeah.
But there's something we want to pass.
Right.
Okay.
So the Republicans are going to we're going to acquiesce.
Very good.
The Democrats are going to acquiesce. And we're going to find a common. So we're both, why? For the greater good. We're going to each be Michael.
The lesser of two evils.
And we're going to pass through whatever. That's what's happening right now. That's what Olam HaToyu is. The Alter Rebbe brings an example
You mean
here.
Tikkun.
Olam HaTikkun. Thank you. The Alter Rebbe brings an example here, incredible example. There's a pasuk where the Eibishter says, from the first day of the Beis HaMikdash, from the first day it was built, you made me sick.
Oh boy.
I hated it, like, I was, yes, of megedreken boich from the erste Tag. Now, it was also a great time of joy. But that's how Tikkun is. Tikkun, it could be upset, and it could be happy.
It's OCD.
In other words,
It has to be perfect. It
as
has to be.
as mechendik.
It's not exactly what I.
There are good things.
Sure.
And there are chesronos.
No, it's like-
But if you want something to be a certain way, that's what the world isn't. Meaning, the world, you have an agenda, you have a plan, you have everything, but nothing goes exactly the way it is.
No, but in Tikkun it does.
And Tikkun, theoretically it does, but Tikkun doesn't. Tikkun doesn't work.
Serious issue with Shlomo HaMelech marrying Bas Paroi.
Yeah.
At that time, it was a big, it was a big issue. The point is that there's a
That you don't have control over everything in life.
No, you could experience two emotions. Why? Because each one is controlled. I'm happy, and I forget the context of this mashal. Some min asked one of the Amaroyim or something. He said, when the Beis Hamikdash was built, why were you happy? You didn't know it was going to be destroyed, like you knew it was only going to be.
Yeah, I just heard it actually.
Yeah. So he said, "Oh, when your child is born, you're happy. Yeah, but he's also going to pass away.
Right.
Well, but here on the day of joy, you celebrate joy.
I just heard this. Nobody, because it's.
So the nefesh alikis is always keeps an eye. It's always thought out that how he keeps. Remember, there's a greater goal. I'm going to go daven. I'm going to get closer to the Eibishter. But I'm going to remember that it's not only about me. I'm going to go out and then I'm going to do myself. There's always, right? It doesn't drive things in such an intense way. It's controlled. So therefore, I can finish davening. It doesn't binge watch. It doesn't get stuck. I daven and then I get to learn. And then there's balance. But the tachlis of us coming into this world is not for the nefesh alikis.
Wow.
The tachlis is that those kalim that were exposed to a fantastic oir, and they really know how to do it in a supersonic way, that the nefesh alikis should excite them, and should harness them, and should find a way to bring that tohu energy to learning and davening. That's the purpose of Eilam Hazeh. Now there's another part of the puzzle that I didn't discuss.
It's like the eccentric creative part of the artist. You're not looking for the playbook, the status quo. You're looking for that.
But there's another nakuda here. Between toyu and tikkun, there's another nakuda. In the Eilamus,
The abstract.
Atzilus is lower than Toihu. Atzilus is Tikkun. Toihu comes before Atzilus. All the Eilamus until Atzilus are bottle. There's only the Eibishter. Bria, Yitzira, and Asiya are a Metzias. They're different grades of Yeshus. For Atzilus to serve the Eibishter, it's not a kunz, it's bottle.
Yeah.
Right? The chidush is that a yesh is that something that feels like it's an independent entity is going to serve the Eibishter. That's where the chidush is. The shviras hakelim resulted in yeshus that was once exposed to fantastic oiris of the Eibishter.
So does that contribute to the yeshus part of it, or like does that contribute to the fact that it should be more bottleneck because it has that experience?
It contributes to its intensity, not to its bittul.
Just
fakert. I'll say it in the other way. The ultimate yeshus is a result of shviras hakelim. In other words, in this world, we have human beings, and then we have animals. We have a person. There's a nefesh alikis, and there's a nefesh abamis. It's in the nefesh abamis that toyu is. It's in the animals that toyu is. That's ultimate yeshus, ultimate survival of the fittest, the most distant from the Eibishter. There's no bittul. And it's with intensity. That intensity comes from those oiris. But there's no feeling of elikus anymore. It's completely, because it has no meaning. Right? It's like...
So you're not contributing like something like the Pintel Yid or to that. Because
I have this incredible...
But you don't know what it is.
No, not. In other words, the fierceness, the power, right? The koyach.
Right.
That's
what it is.
That's the toihu. Okay. Now let's take a look. Let's learn a little bit inside. with this Hakdama, let's learn a little bit inside. So Lahavina Indian. Shimon, the kosher animals, one of the Chevre, kosher animals are also from Tohu. We're not. This is not a discussion about Klippas Noiga and Sholosh Klippas Hatmeis. It's a discussion of Tohu and Tikkun. Right? We one of the questions that Chassidus discusses time and time again, we come back to how is it that a person could be nourished from what's lower than him? And the answer is because what's lower than him is from Tohu. So that's also why we're elevating it. Because the Tohu is disconnected from purpose. And when we
reestablish,
we reconnect it with purpose by us eating with purpose. So that's the Tohu, the result of Tohu are all these entities that don't sense their purpose and they're strong. They're very earthy. They're very powerful. Let's read a little bit inside. Lahavina Indian. What does this mean? We learned in the previous Mayim he explained that the davening of a Baal Asik, of a person, right, is not a Yeshiv Oil. He doesn't have an opportunity all week to learn. His davening is on a higher level than someone who learns Torah a whole week. Why? Because his involvement with the world intensifies his Avos Hashem. Thank you. So tzorech lahabdim biur inyan yiridas hanashama. We have to understand first. We have to explain, which is shehi hanitzutz elikus be'elam hazeh. What is the nefesh elikus? A godly spark in this world, and it descends the guf, the nefesh habamis. It becomes vested in a guf. Lias toru tomid b'machshavos v'daiges haparnasa b'havli elam hazeh. To be continuously burdened by the worries of parnasa and other things of nothingness. Hevel, pusta zachem. It's a fantastic yerida. In other words, thinking about it on this backdrop. Bittul, the nefesh elikis, is godly. It's bottled to the Eibishter. Eilam hazeh, the whole Indian of Tiras HaParnasa is an ultimate expression of Yeshus. Because a person who's bottled to the Eibishter doesn't worry about financials.
Like Rabbi Zusha says, Hashem will feed me.
Yeah, the Eibishter is
He's just going to learn Torah.
Right, the Eibishter feeds the world. We're not. It's not our problem. The idea of Tiras HaParnasa comes from a Yeshus state.
I can't say better shit, I'll tell you after.
We must say that Yiridazu Yitzerech Aliyah. Yeah. At once it's in a body, it will be able to reach a higher place. And that's what Toihu brings to the table. Toihu brings ma'oitcha. When a person has a taiva, they don't give up.
Oh, yeah.
So essentially, tayu is like a spice that you put, or I don't want to say subconscious, but it's something that existed always, and you don't have the address to it. But when it connects, it solidifies that thing because of the memory or because of the existence that it had initially at the creation.
It contains that power.
It contains. So that's the thing. It's a strong, potent thing, but it on its own, and you don't know what it is. You don't know the address, but when it hits,
on its own, it's a mazik. On its own, it's completely selfish.
It's like poison almost.
Senselessly selfish. Right? What's the lashon in the Gemara? Haraitza lamos yechayes atzmai.
Right.
Right? You just worry about, eat ice cream and beat your face. I don't know what. K'mayim berazal. Yeah? K'mayim berazal. We're on 18. Toiv ze malachayim. Ma'oid ze malachamavos. Right? What Hashem saw that the world is toiv ma'oid. It's amazingly good.
economy.
Yeah. וזהו דווקא על ידי האהבה הבא מנפש הבאמס. כמי שאנו רואים למטה, what do we see? שכוח הבהמה גדול מכוח האדם. Animals are stronger, they're more mighty. The נפש הבאמס has more force. כמי כן למעלה אמרו רז"ל, what do we say in Ruchnius? במקום שבעלי תשובה עומדים, צדיקים חולו are not in that place, והיינו מפני, שבחינס בעלי תשובה הוא בחיל היתר. What does it mean? How could it be? I was just reading in one of the Mamorim, he says, what, the Baal Tshuva, et gegessen pupkes, you know, he was laying fagrept in Elam Haza. How could it be? No, the point is, his Avos Hashem is more intense. He doesn't give up as quickly. He has a Hisgabrus Godel. Why? V'hainu mipnei, shebechinas nefesh abahamis hu mipchinas Elam Atoyu. The nefesh abahamis is Atoyu de Gezach. Notice that it's called kings. Which is tikkun. What's all this? He's wrapping the whole ishtalshalus in a bow. Hashem wanted to create the world. It was version 1, and then version 2. What do you mean? The Eibusher doesn't know what he's doing. He has the first version, the second version. So the Alter Rebbe now is going to clarify that din in this setting does not mean tzimtzum. That midas hadin is bechinas tzimtzum umenias hahashpa, to withhold.
Really?
It's one of Hashem's tools that He yields. Blood represents midas hadin, and blood is ultimate chayas. El apirush midas hadin is bechinas gevura, intensely alive. Loshen tigboiris, shekeach hachayas meirin, so baruch hu bo b'his gabrus yoser bechinas hachesed. Chesed is passive. I don't know if it's such a good word, but it's. He doesn't get so excited. He just gives. He just gives.
Yeah.
Like
that water fountain in Lefferts Park that just keeps going months and months. You saw it? It just keeps going. It doesn't think about it or anything. It just keeps giving water.
Gevura means intense giving. Okay, mimela. It becomes this severe aspect. Why? Because I'm very involved. I'm passionately involved in everything I give. So I want to make sure that it's going exactly where it needs to go. Could reach anywhere. It's a government program. The money just flows. Don't get so nervous. Right? You know, the guy calls up the credit card company. I think I know who stole my card and who made the order. They're like, all right, take it easy. You're working for the law enforcement.
Yeah,
Who do you work for? Just let it go. Take it easy.
So Chesed is colder than Gvura?
Yeah, Chesed is cold. Yeah, Gvura is hot. Eat it. You don't see
the chesed in all the demonstrations that are going on in the world?
Zayin Malachim.
The chesed?
That's why they're called kings. Now he goes, we spoke about this at the beginning. Mevur. Shebechinas hatoyu hu ribui ha'oir u'miyot ha'kelim, and tikkun is behepech. What does this mean? This is Kabbalah de Ka'isius. Pirush. Ribui Ohr means Sha'er v'achayis ba b'yis gavrus rav. There's an incredible. It's a force of energy. In other words,
It's the opposite of restriction.
right now, let's think about how this plays out in all seven spheres, not only in Gvura. Chesed is intensely committed to Chesed, and it's intensely committed to being Ohr, meaning I only represent more. Don't tell me about anything else. I'm not ready to listen to any. Like, listen, if you need to this, you come to someone and you say, what do you demonstrate? Like, imagine that there's an operation that has to be secret. People are demonstrating. You say, what's your purpose? If you're quiet about it, you'll accomplish much more. You think they'll be quiet? Usually not.
The agitators.
Right?
The Russian protests
Right.
and the Cold War.
So the intensity of the Ohr in Toihu was so great that it couldn't hear that there's a purpose. And in order to accomplish that, maybe you got to take it easy. Right? I remember somebody once told me, when you have an argument with someone and you're trying to make your point weaker. If you make it weaker, there's a better chance that they'll accept it.
Use perhaps.
Right?
or
There's the
maybe.
exact like for me. What do you mean? If I'm proving my point, I have to make it as strong as I possibly can.
It's too extreme for someone to chap right away.
Right? You says no. When you go, if you're trying to get something, weaken it a little.
Get them.
Make it a
It's
little.
a fish. You have to pull it in slowly.
It's like mamish.
Absolute terms.
In Eilam HaToihu, there's no such thing. Chesed is ultimate chesed. Gvura is ultimate gvura. So what happens? Right? Kalim, let's say, right? Imagine if we take an object, we say, a sefer is Oiris and Kalim. Right? The Oiris are the words, and the Kalim are the pages and the cover. What happens if I take out the words?
Or if I just add ink.
What are you left with? Right? What are you left with? Right? There's not. That's shviras hakelim. You're not. There's not. You're not left with anything.
It's like what's the one? Filling up a cup with a fire hydrant.
V'chein, kol hayut spheres. It's in everything. Every single sphere was incredibly intense. V'gam lochein. That's also why they couldn't work together. And obviously, because it's coming, right.
There was no combinations.
No combinations. Why? Because it's coming from the greatest Eirein Seif.
Each one was extreme.
That's what I'm presenting.
They didn't have room for anybody else.
I have to present Hashem's might. Hashem's might? You kidding me? I have to present Hashem's chesed? It's mamish endless. So, this is the meaning, that's not a way for there to be tikkun.
So this was particularly before the Bible?
This is before
Brias Island.
Before Atzilus.
Okay.
This precedes Atzilus. And so Hashem said, no, this is not going to work. So therefore, there has to be tikkun, a new set of spheres.
It's not even Elamasiya, it's not even Gashmi.
No, a new set of spheres, which has kavin. You say skalos hamidas abazeh. How does that happen? In other words, there's a tzimtzum, an incredible diminishment of the Ohr. We have to remember there's one point in Hasidus. Also, again, before you came, right when I started off, I said like this in this minor, like
you got everything.
All this. It summarizes all the idea, like all of like say like the.
Is there a good recipe?
Tzimtzum, even Tzimtzum Orisha, the purpose of contraction is not to remain that way. The purpose is leha'ir. Right? The purpose of tzimtzum
making money is to spend it.
is not. Oh, I want. You know what? I have.
Like-
My information is too great. I'm going to withhold it. No, I want to find a piece of information that I could share with you. There's a war. Most of the information is too much for the people. So I'm going to be mitzamtzim. Why am I being mitzamtzim? Not because I don't want anyone to know what's happening. No, I'm going to be mitzamtzim because I want to find some
Hamas is ISIS.
some
That's all you
small fragment that's shareable. So just like when the Seder of the world, it says Vayihi Erev, Vayihi Boker. Night comes first. Why does night come first? Because if you want, what do we say about Rabbi Akiva? Rabbi Akiva nichnas b'sholem, v'yatzu b'sholem. He went in b'sholem. The tzimtzum from the first second of the withholding, it's already for a purpose. That's Atzilus. So now you have a whole world that emerges that understands why I'm here. I'm here for a reason. I have a purpose. And if there's a purpose, Chesed and Gvura have to work together. We work together. The right arm and the left arm have to work together. We're going to work together. That's tikkun. And that's what the tzimtzum made possible. So the purpose, in other words, you open up a Mayim, a hemshech of ma'amorim. The whole subject is tzimtzum. The whole topic is to bring out
the tzimtzum is not. So the tzimtzum is not from this thing to be mitzamtzum from that thing. It's the tzimtzum is in each individual thing. They have their own tzimtzum, meaning that would drawing their yesh.
In other words, what do we say? We say that Hashem created one world, and then He created another world. Let's say, in other words, there's Ein Sof. And first, out of Ein Sof, Hashem emanated 10 spheres. Those 10 spheres without a tzimtzum. Those 10 spheres could not function. They were just too intense to do spheres akelim. So then Hashem made a tzimtzum. And from the tzimtzum, Achar tzimtzum emanated 10 spheres. Now the 10 spheres are goal-oriented, they're focused, they work together, and they're going to elevate those first 10 spheres. What's the mila of those 10 spheres?
They're more powerful.
Because the new spheres, they come after tzimtzum. So they're controlled, they're limited. Those original 10 spheres, they're like Hercules. So the new 10 spheres of Tikkun, B'nai Yisrael, in the world, what we're doing is weaving back those spheres that have direct access to Elikus. Now the question is, where do you find that the Toihu Oiris? Where do you find them? No, in the lowest place in this world.
So we're supposed to gather it.
In other words, in the Nefesh HaBamis, in the Yetzer Hara, in Gash, in Doimen, אל תשכח, שם. אוקיי? תגלגל קצת יותר. כן.
מחר אנחנו נערוד.
אוקיי, בעזרת השם.
זה קטן באמת.
Yeah. Okay. So let's. So that's the Ribui Kalim, Miutopia. Sha'ir v'chayis eine Bobby is Gabrus. Rak bechinas chesed b'krirus. Being that everything is tempered, limited, you can bring together opposites. Okay, mind Marasal. The first 1,000 years, David was showing you how do you say it? How patient he is. Thank you. Until Avram came. Shemachmas she'ein hamida bo b'his gabrus. The midah doesn't have an agenda to show itself. I have to show you what I'm capable of. It doesn't have to. It's just here to be helpful. So therefore, nimshach liyos arich am erech apayim v'savlonos. He's patient. V'adarabah. Yochel Yishnei Afachim Betachlis. K'mei shebatzinu. Okay, good. In the inner circle. K'mei shebatzinu, like we find by Binyan Beis HaMikdash. Sha'isa Simcha G'doyla Ad Ma'id. It was a fantastic Simcha, like Shlomo HaMelech said, Shir HaShirim. Shalei Hoysam Miyem Briyas HaOlam. From the day of creation, there's no joy so great. K'mei shekosov Ki Molech Ved Hashem is Beis Hashem. Sheba ha'esh mol ma'ila. The Eibishter was revealed. Hainu b'chinas Gili Ashchina Lamata. Nimtzo Shayas Asimcha Rabba Ma'id. V'al Oysei HaPerek Nema. Regarding the same exact time. What does it say? Ki al api ve'al chamasi. It was my anger and my wrath. From the day it was built, it was a source of anger for me. Why? In other words, Shlomo HaMelech, who took Bas Pari, that was his building. That's his, you know what I mean? Like, I have to remember, who built this? Who constructed this Beis HaMikdash? Nimtzo. So you Beis HaFachim Yachad Be'ez u'bizman echad. How is that? Al Yudei sheshitif midas harachamim v'nasa elomat tikun. So when it's elomat tikun, yochol yiskal hamidas elazeh me'achar she'en amida v'hizgalus ha'hilech b'ribui u'b'tigbeiris ha'ur. The light, again, it's not this whole point. Again, this is like a whole other set of ma'amorim and sheikhim that talk about the inyan of Ohr. What's the inyan of Ohr? Total bittul. I'm only here to present Moir. If you're only here to present Moir, and your Moir is ultimate b'li gvul, how could you be contained? To be contained is like suddenly you're a Metzius. You're controlling the Ohr. So, but im kain hakli oisei yechod lahachol gam beis habchinas.
But Ohr really doesn't. How does the Ohr control its Ohr? It's not the Ohr that controls its Ohr. It's the
because right. It's the keli.
It's the keli or the things around the Ohr. So how do we have it?
So you have the lashon also. In other words, bechlal. There's two. This is a whole other sugya, right? There are two approaches about Oiris and Kelim. One is that they each have their own source. Oiris have their source, Kelim have their source. Keach hagvul, keach habli gvul. Another is that the Oir, that the Keli comes from the periphery of the Oir. In other words, there's a core, there's a beam, whatever that is, right? That's the Pnimius ha'Oir, or Etzem ha'Oir. And then the Hisavus ha'Oir.
Oh, that's the Keli, yeah.
Right. So that's
it's sort of like the end of the end of the Ohr.
Right. So
where he knows that it's going to be. It's sort of the.
So what you're bringing up now touches on that whole area of investigation and exposition that they discuss on the Mekubalim and also more Ma'amorim about like
it's a myth. It's a myth and a ball basically that they're meant for each other.
That they guide each other. How they guide each other and yeah. So v'hine nishmas ha'adam. We have to remember this. That nishmas ha'adam is b'chinas atzilus elam atikun. That's also why the neshama is not in here in this world to correct itself. It's coming from atzilus. It's already perfected. We're not here to perfect our neshama. We're here to work with our nefesh avamis. V'lachein neshama kula mikol amidus k'mavur b'tandim. Their shayrish is Eilam HaToyu. And that's why Malachim are stuck, each in their function, in their midah. Machne Michal, Machne Gavriel, Kol Echad Kab B'fnei Atzmai. Machne Michal Urak B'chinas Avo. And of course it's Bias Gabrus Ma'id. Machne Gavriel Urak B'chinas Yira. And of course that is Bias Gabrus Rav. Sar Shal Mayim, Sar Shal Eish. Umizeh, from the Malachim, in other words, when you have a personal agenda, then in the Hishtalshalus, as it evolves, you have a Metzias. It becomes a lower Metzias, and a lower Metzias, until it becomes...
It could sort of change the Mar, technically. Because if the R is deviating from the Mar... But
this is Caleb, the Malachim...
Same idea. No?
The ava and the fire, the yira, are already kalim.
Yeah, but what you're representing, if you're not committed completely, your representation gets
So
affected.
Mizeh nimshach b'chinas merkava. And then there's Pnei Aryeh El Hayamin, Pnei Shiur v'chulu. And then from that comes the animals, and then Klippa, right? It keeps the Hine. B'nishmas ha'adam, Amru Razal, Kimul Shutfim ba'adam. HaKadosh Baruch Hu Nesim b'ay neshama. So the neshama, that's the tikkun part. However, Chayis, Nefesh HaBehemis, Ve'efis, they are not from the Eibishter directly. They are mibchinas pnei aryeh pnei shiur umekoyro me'olam hatoyu. That's why it says that the person is the beginning and the end of creation. Ocher v'kedem tzartoni mitzad hatikun b'hishtalshelus. In the hishtalshelus, Atzilus is the highest. Atzilus adam hu madrega gavaya yoser. He's the highest. The hemis, they're not flu mata, they're low. Ashengem in the Kaira, in the source in Tayu. Hem Madrega Gavaya Yosef. Shem Bibrenas Elam Atayu. We're from Elam Atikun, they're from Elam Atayu. Lifnei Malach Malach Keneda. The Elazah is therefore. And now he's coming to the answer of the question about the Yerida Tzerech Aliyah. Ha'ava Haba Mitzad Nefesh HaBahamis. The Nefesh HaBahamis is passion, the Nefesh HaBahamis is love. Is lemaila, meaning it's more intense. Lemaila, maila. Bechinas bechoma oitcha. Shelemaila. V'pnei shu bechela yatir. Sheba bias gabrus rav. Shesherish nefesh habahamis u'b'bechinas hatoyu kanal. Rak shenochel b'shviris hakelu l'mata mata ma'oid. Fell to a very low place. Yeah, ba'avei de gashmis. Lias nefrovid. Avol k'shenivrar v'oilef, we elevated. Bitfilo, and how does that happen? The Nefesh Elikis has to relate to the Nefesh HaBahamis. That's another aspect. The Yoshev Oil, all his interests are spiritual. Right? Like that guy who came to the Rebbe. And he spoke about the Sukkah and whatever is at the end. He's like, give me a bracha that my mind should be open to the Torah. Right? In other words, was davens too? Also for Ruchnius. The Baal Asik, the world is really...
He's busy with that the whole time. When he's talking
it's
davening.
real. No, I'm saying his requests and his need for connection are very intense. Azayu bi'ez gabrus rav. There's the ava of b'chol ma'itcha. Mayim Razal, a strange Gemara. He came to him to ask him a question at night. And he says, no, you have to come back. I didn't answer you last night. I didn't eat meat.
Yeah, right.
I wasn't at my peak. Nimtza. Shehamaychel habasar. Shemaichel habasar nesim koyach. V'teisefes meichin ba'adam. We become stronger. Ukumesha kasu v'yayin yesamach levav enish. Gashmius brings us joy.
It's that part how here we discuss how the basar brings extra strength and joy. And the Rabim says the reason why they lived 1,000 years is because they didn't eat basar. But one is
the Rambam says the reason why they lived 1,000 years because they didn't eat basar. Where's that?
In the Moran.
Yeah, but it doesn't mean that it doesn't bring you joy. It doesn't say that it makes you live longer. Joy is joy. That's
just ask any vegan.
You hit that level
maybe as soon as you finish eating, by the way, a separate thing. Maybe you're tired, but then you feel it's like a person. It's like a wealthy person
replenishes the blood
who feels more confident.
This is not full intellectual capacity.
What he's saying is that Gashmi is
they said wine broadens the mind, and
wine brings spiritual joy. It has an impact on our spirituality. The meat has an impact. The wine has an impact. Yeah, the im kolze lemata in our world. In other words, imagine. A behema is shayrish is toihu before it's tzimtzum, and we're higher. How could it be in tikkun? It says which is Me'elam Atayu. V'al Kabbalah, this is the idea of Yisur Noach Mitech Acheshav Daf. V'hainu Aidei Izbeinus B'tfilah. What's he thinking about? Eich shetorut kol hayom. I'm so busy. V'reidev achar panasosei mozin v'lechem. Shechayuzanu me'amazolos. What am I looking for? I'm running after something that comes from mazolos. And the mazolis is from the ayin sorim, and the sorim from shmori efanim, and the efanim from malchus. And I'm a Jew. It's all zivla audible vad. I'm busy a whole day with nothing. Like I gave you the mashal 2 weeks ago that I heard from the Mendel Rechter, right, about the guy who got paid for a month, and then he finds out that all the money is forged. The guy gave a donation, and then you find out that's all monopoly money.
Or the feds want it back.
That comes to the dinner, it gives you.
Yeah, right. No, they give you cash, but then the feds come.
The crypto.
And this is Rabbi Akiva's message. If to the goyim there's such joy, because the this is the real money. It's not the fake money. They're all busy with fake money.
Fake news, fake money.
Shesham hu atayim ketz. Yeah, in the previous. Because of Heidi, Aleretz v'shamayim, Eretz v'shamayim, Malav v'seiv v'zrak Heid, Heid v'ziv. But Bnei Yisrael Amke Reifer. That's the real thing. The chines as Mohusi v'asmusi is called. So Mizeh, from this his burdenus, Tislahe nafshe v'yizgabrus b'cheila yatir b'tshuka v'chafetza l'davka v'yizbarach. He will intensely desire to connect to the Eibishter. Who? The Nefesh HaBahamis. The whole point is that this whole his burdenus. Why is he saying that you have to think about Tirdus Because who you're talking to? The Nefesh HaBahamis also has seichel. Why does he have seichel? Because you have to shiur l'kustim. This is the meaning of Baruch Atah, Melech Ha'olam, and then Asher Kitshonu B'mitzvayso. Shema Shenishba V'nimshach L'mata Li'ez Mamale V'seiv V'chayis of our world. That's Melech Ha'olam. V'achosei B'kel Mashallah. But Asher Kitshonu. Aval Abbas U'tshukas Neshamas Yisrael L'davka B'yizbarech but a yid to connect to Hashem V'musei V'atzmusei. Asher Kitshonu, Asher Tainu Ba'elyon, Aden Kates true joy, Lashon Ba'ashri, Kitshonu B'mitzvahs Chulu, enduring joy, enduring love. We turn the page. Sha'irei HaMitzvahs Hem Mamshichim Ye'einu Ba'elyon, like a talis. We're going to stay true to our time. We're going to finish. We'll close here. He has 2 more points here. Well, maybe Shabbos will finish this one.